Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be going over this little thing right here. This is the Armaspec SRS, or the Stealth Recoil Spring. Armaspec did send this to me. I have no affiliation with them, so if you go buy this, I don't really get anything from it. I don't care what you buy. I'm just here to tell you about this and kind of what its purpose is. So if you don't know, I hope you know. Back here is your buffer tube, and back there you need a spring. You can use something like this, the SRS, or you usually get a traditional buffer and spring. This right here is my Sons of Liberty spring and buffer. In that Sons of Liberty, it comes with an A5, so my buffer is a little bit bigger. This is a T2. And then I have a Springco green spring. Now, the purpose of the SRS is to get rid of that twang. So if you've ever been shooting with something like a traditional spring, you kind of hear that spring coming back. Some people hate it, some people don't care. I personally don't care, but some people don't really like it. And so that's where there's two different systems that actually come in. The SRS, and then I have this spring here. Now there's a couple different companies, this thing is disgusting, that make springs. This is a Geisley Super 42, so it's an H2 buffer and it's a braided spring. Now this actually gets rid of a lot of the twang that you hear. I don't think I've ever heard any twang when shooting this, and I've shot quite a few rounds through this. But the difference, as you can see here, is packaging as well. This is also a very small package compared to these springs. My hands are dirty. Now, with the Armaspec, this actually comes with two springs. So you have your spring back here that compresses that rod, and then you have a spring right here that when it comes back, it also compresses both of those springs. So it gives it a little bit of a softer pushback, if you want to call it that. Now, the one that Armaspec sent me for my AR-15, they sent me their kit. So their kit actually comes with this weight right here. This is their carbine weight, their heavier weight, the H2, and then I actually am running the H, which is a 3.8 ounce weight. That's what I figured out with this setup right here was actually the best in the gassing, especially with suppressed and unsuppressed. Honestly, it ran pretty smooth. To kind of give you an example of how these weights work, so you have this little part back here that you will actually push down. You will push this pin out, and then you will basically disassemble the whole thing, pull this weight off, put the new weight on, reassemble everything, and then you can go ahead and try and tune your gun. Now, one of the good things about this kit system here, I believe it's about $110. My Super 42 with an H2 was about 90, around 90 to 100, and then your A5s, your Springco springs are going to be about 20 or so dollars, and then your weights are going to be mostly where your money is at. Now, with this, it comes with the whole set for that 110, so you don't have to sit here try and tune your gun. It doesn't work. You got to buy a new buffer weight, all that different stuff, and then you got to wait for it to come in and everything, and then go back and tune it. At least this comes all in one set. Now, they also sent me the AR-10 version. What I had to do with the AR-10 though, because I was running it on the PSA 12.5, the Saber 10, I actually had to run a spacer, because with that, it is running an S5, which is essentially an A5 buffer tube, and so this would not fit, so I had to run their A5 spacer. Now with this, in the Saber 10, I believe it is an H1 buffer, which is about 3.8 ounces, and this out of the box is 5.7 ounces. So luckily I have a rifle speed gas block, so I can tune that a little bit better. Now I will say, between this and the traditional buffer and spring that I have in that 12.5, I did hear a difference. Actually paying attention, I did hear a difference in the twang. The performance difference is, I don't know if there's really a performance difference in between these and a traditional buffer and spring. I can't attest to that. Now you might be asking, what's the purpose of these, or why would I even want to buy one of these? Personally, I don't care what you buy. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. I'm not even going to tell you to go buy Armaspec SRSs. What I'm saying is, if it's something that you've been looking at, Personally, I would go with Armaspec because the only other company that I know that makes silent capture stuff is JP. And when you compare the price of one of these to a JP, I believe it's like half the cost to get an Armaspec one. Now, whether I care if you go buy either of those, I really don't. The main purpose behind these that I can think of is really, one, if you care about that twang, getting that twang out. And also the other purpose that I can possibly think about this is making your gun as quiet as possible. With something like this right here, my 300 Blackout, when I do suppressed on that, subs are relatively quiet through that thing. And if I want to make it extra quiet, I can run an SRS, so I get rid of the twang, and all you really hear is the cycling of the gun, essentially, depending on your suppressor and what grain weights you're running anyway. For me, I only have about 100 rounds through this 10.5 with this SRS, and it's been performing pretty well. Now, I can't say anything about the spring life of really any of these springs. I've run my Super 42 for a little bit over a year now. A couple hundred rounds, probably close to 1,000 rounds with that thing, and it works just well. Like I said, I only have about 100 through the AR-15 and about 20 through the AR-10 in just my testing for this video. I could argue that I could just get an H3 buffer, run my Super 42, and it would run similar to the SRS on my 10.5. But more than likely what I will do is probably keep running this, do a little bit more testing, and later in the future, if I find any kind of discrepancies or anything happens with this, maybe give you guys an update. But as of right now, all I can tell you is basically Armaspec sent these to me, what their kind of purpose is, and kind of how I liked them. So far, I don't mind them. Really, like I said, I don't care too much about that twang. It doesn't do much for me. It's kind of a personal preference thing, really. There's gonna be a trade-off really with everything in this world, especially in the gun industry, so it's up to you. Go find what you like, go test things. I'm not saying to buy one of these and then test it. If you know somebody that has one, test it. Give it your best thoughts. If you want to run one, cool. If you don't, run what you like. Run what runs best for you. Like I said, in this 10.5, I'm running a carbine length, so this works just fine. If I was to run it in something like my son's, or again, this 12.5, I would have to get the spacer. They also do make other spacers for these. I have the A1 spacer. I had other spacers. Not in that one. Not in that one. Did I even take them with me? Okay, I don't know where my other spacers went, but I do have an A5, specifically an A5, and then they make an A2 spacer, and then they make smaller spacers that are about half the size of this A5 if you need really anything that is going to make it run easier and fit down in there. Because honestly, if I was to put this in just that A5 or S5 tube, you're gonna have probably about an inch of space where this is just going to be free floating in there, and it's going to destroy some components in your gun. So honestly, that's basically it. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, throw them down there. Subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Really, so far I've enjoyed using this. Again, I'm going to keep it in this 10.5, run it suppressed, unsuppressed, see kind of how I feel about it, try and keep a round count on it, and really just see if I see anything happen. But so far I've enjoyed them. Thank you to Armaspec for sending me this stuff to mess around with. Go down in the description, check out the affiliates, some of the cool companies that send me stuff that really I just enjoy. True North Concepts, American Triggers, Burnproof Gear, Condition 1 cases, all the fun stuff. Go save some money, go help support cool companies, and help support the channel. But that is it, and I'll see you in the next video.